Hello, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to the Winning Seed 2023. I'm Rianne. I'm project coordinator at LetsStopAIDS, and I'm going to be hosting the event today. We are delighted to have you all with us. Thank you so much for joining. Welcome to all of those who are joining us virtually from across Canada, from your homes, maybe from your workplaces or your schools. And welcome also to the folks who are joining us to watch the event live in person at the LetsStopAIDS office. Thanks for coming out today. And even by showing up today, you are all leaders. So we really thank you all for your support and your dedication and commitment to this cause. So thank you. As we meet today, I would like to begin by acknowledging the Indigenous peoples of all the lands that we are on today. It is important to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and to improve our own understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their cultures. From coast to coast, we acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territory of all the Inuit, Métis, and First Nations people that call this land home. LetsStopAIDS acknowledges that it operates out of Toronto, the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit River, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. So please join me in this moment of reflection to acknowledge the harms of the past and to consider how we can each try to move forward in the spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. Thank you. Okay, so we have a really exciting lineup of youth leaders today who will be pitching their very innovative and creative HIV project ideas to us. But before I introduce the finalists and the jury, I would like to tell you a little bit more about LetsStopAIDS and the Winning Seed. So we're going to start with a short video, which will tell you more about LetsStopAIDS and our story and our history and how we got to where we are today and the work that we do. So enjoy.
Up next is someone who illustrates how youth can really make a difference. Shaman started his own AIDS Foundation when he was just 15 years old. He's the perfect example of someone who acts locally but thinks globally.
Okay, so I hope that through that video you were able to understand LetsStopAIDS' journey and how we got to where we are today. And as you've seen, since LetsStopAIDS' conception in 2004, LetsStopAIDS has been driven by youth leadership, youth advocacy, engaging and empowering youth to really play an active role in the HIV response and to contribute to making positive change in our community. And this is no different today as we come together to hear some really remarkable young leaders pitch their Winning Seed project ideas. So for those of you who aren't already familiar with the Winning Seed, I want to give you a little bit more context about the contest and also let you know what to expect from today's event. So the Winning Seed is an initiative hosted by LetsStopAIDS, where we invite youth between the ages of 15 and 29 to put forward a project idea that would provide a solution to a HIV-related issue. And we also ask candidates to focus their projects on one or more of 3 UN Sustainable Development Goals. So those are SDG 3, good health and well-being, SDG 4, quality education, and SDG 10, reduced inequalities. So our first place winner is going to be receiving support to make their project idea come to life. This is going to be through 1 year of mentorship with expert mentors in the field, $1,000 to put towards their project, and also $500 prize money for themselves. So we might only have one mentorship package and funding micro grant available for the winning project today, but really everyone who is with us today is going to be a winner, because we also have some very exciting mystery boxes of goodies for second and third place. So everyone here today is going to win something exciting. Okay, so what to expect from today's event? Each finalist is going to have 5 minutes to pitch their project. This is going to be followed by 10 minutes of questions from the jury. And after all 3 pitches, we'll be taking a short break while the jury deliberates and decides who will come in first, second, and third place. After that, we will reconvene to hear the results from the judges. Okay, so without further ado, I would like to introduce our 3 finalists. First, we will be hearing from Eunice, Abraham, and Delisha, who will be pitching their project titled WellUs for Access, which is a combination of fundraising and research. Hello, Eunice, Abraham, and Delisha. Secondly, we'll be hearing from Ollie, who will present their project, Translating HIV Research, a Night of Understandable Science. This one is all about making scientific information more accessible to the general public. Hello, Ollie. And lastly, we'll be hearing from Arihant and Shivam, who will pitch their app development project called Sexwell. Hi, Arihant and Shivam. Okay, so next I would like to present our 3 judges, who over the last few weeks, they've had the very difficult task of selecting 3 finalists from all of the wonderful project ideas that we received, and who I believe have the even harder task today of deciding which contestants will receive first place, second place, and third place prizes. So let me present to you, we have Alicia Sanchez, Youth and Community Engagement Specialist at UNAIDS. We have Matthew House, Director of Global Public Health at ViV Healthcare. And we have Dr. Mona Lutfi, who is a clinician scientist at Women's College Hospital. So let's get a wave or thumbs up from all of our judges. Let us know if you're ready to hear these pitches today. Thank you for joining us, Alicia, Matthew, and Mona. Great. Okay, so let's get started with the first pitch. It is over to you, Eunice, Abraham, and Delisha, to present your project idea, WellUs for Access.
Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Next slide, please. So if you take a moment to look around you in any given space, you could probably come up with a list of social determinants of health. These are factors that affect one's ability to obtain optimal health. These are factors that play a role in the unfair treatment of certain communities, or in other words, health inequity, which leaves them disadvantaged in their health, either due to poor resources, lack of attention, or simply discrimination. This is an issue that communities have had to endure for many years. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry, I don't think the presentation started at the first slide. Yeah, sorry, can you please go back? Yes, right here. Oh, sorry, the slide, yes. So good morning, everyone. My name is Eunice. I'm a 3rd year human biology undergraduate student at the University of Toronto.
Hi, my name is Delisha. I'm also a 3rd year university student at the University of Toronto.
And my name is Abraham, and I am a 3rd year undergraduate student at Toronto Metropolitan University.
And not too long ago, we started an initiative in our school called WELLIS, which stands for Wellness and Equity for Life Science undergraduate students. And it's ordered to bring awareness to health and education inequities faced by marginalized student communities in the field of healthcare or life sciences. This opportunity allows us to think big and extend our passion to health equity and promote awareness of social determinants of health on a global scale. So today we present to you Wellness for Access, which aims to promote healthcare and wellness access to communities which face health inequities.
We are immigrants and people of color, and so we know that far too many times marginalized communities endure healthcare inequalities, which only further exacerbates their divisions within society. We witness this through our own countries, which commonly face health crisis and a rise in preventable deaths among those of low socioeconomic status. And this is predominantly due to the lack of research into treatment for local diseases, poor public health formed due to public inadequacies, and healthcare inaccessibility.
Well, what is the solution to something of such a large scale? Well, we know that to tackle this issue, we must take steps. So the first arm of our solution is a local but direct impact. We hope to host and plan a local fundraiser with a clinic or community health center, which primarily focuses on alleviating this health inequities in a great way, because this allows us to recognize the efforts being made right in our very own communities. Centers such as Taibu and Access Alliance work with immigrants, those of lower socioeconomic status, racial minorities, and other marginalized communities to offer them personalized care and recognize that biases do exist. This fundraiser could be executed via food sales and inviting people to have an open and casual discussion about this topic.
As well as, we would like to facilitate a discussion surrounding AIDS and HIV prevention and strategies, because we know HIV and AIDS disproportionately affects marginalized communities. And so having this conversation on this matter with your company to support that would be a way to promote healthcare equity. We also know this is important because sex and sexual wellness are kind of like taboo topics in these cultures. And so having this conversation is quite important. Next slide, please. And so going into our second arm, so the second arm of our initiative is to conduct a systematic review on the health determinants in Canada, Sri Lanka, and Nigeria. In this review, we will review literature regarding the unfair treatment experienced by HIV patients in these countries. Hence, after reviewing the literature, we would like to discuss some creative solutions which can solve this local and global issue, and also list the common health determinants across the papers. As research students, we truly understand the importance of disseminating knowledge to communities. So we believe by doing this kind of research and holding an event with a local clinic will help spread awareness on global health equity, and also possibly inspire others to find better solutions to resolve inequities in their own communities. Next slide, please.
In spreading awareness of health inequalities, we hope to also shine a light on neglected tropical diseases, local endemic diseases, or diseases that disproportionately affect minority individuals, such as HIV, which is predominantly seen in the Black community, gender minorities, and other communities which deserve to be recognized as well. We thank you all for this opportunity, and we thank you for listening to our presentation.
Okay, thank you so much, Eunice, Abraham, and Delisha. Well done, fantastic pitch. So we'll now take some questions from the jury. We have 10 minutes of questions. If time permits, we may be able to take some questions from the audience. So please do feel free to put in your questions or your comments or even some words of encouragement for our contestants in the chat. Okay, so perhaps we could start with a question from Matthew.
Sure. First of all, thank you. Not only for, that was great, but you're clearly sort of actively implicating yourself, not only in your university settings, but also in clinical environments, which I think is amazing. And which is actually the nexus of my question, which is, you've clearly done quite a bit of work to set up WELLIS. I imagine setting up an organization, reaching out, finding structure, that takes a lot of energy. And now you're also pivoting to, a literature review in a clinic and fundraising for a clinic and that kind of thing. And I'm wondering how the two relate to each other. Like, how are you going to bring your experience in your student organization to the clinic and vice versa? Like, what's the relationship between those two bodies of work?
Yeah, so thank you very much for your comments. And we know that these are two separate events, but what connects WELLIS to this initiative is that WELLIS is recognizing the same inequities that exist in student populations and student communities as students ourselves. So it's more of a personal connection to this passion and this initiative. And this initiative that we're trying to pitch to you guys is more on a global scale. And we are also wanting to analyze the situation in our own communities as well as in our home countries. So in recognizing the inequities that student communities and student populations face in the University of Toronto and other universities across Canada, we're also able to apply this to other communities such as families, elderly, and the young to understand how their situations relate to one another. So yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Alicia, could we take a question from you next?
Yes, sure. Thank you for the overview. I have a question regarding because in your application you mentioned the use of a health equity framework, which is extremely interesting to me, and strengthen the services of this the health access clinic by using this framework. Can you tell us a little bit more about this framework that you're proposing, if it's a tool that already exists, or what's the approach behind it? And I'm also curious to know about the linkages that already exist between your project, Wellness for Access, and the Health Access Clinic, and the networks or the organizations at the country level. Thank you.
So to answer your first question, we did realize that there are some clinics in the GTA, such as Taibu and specifically Access Alliance, which have initiatives already implemented in their clinics that tried to implement health equity frameworks in the hospital. I actually previously also worked with another company called Tazin, which also helps implement these health equity frameworks. And these frameworks basically surround, or they're regarding the way patients interact with doctors and the way doctors interact with patients, and the way doctors interact with doctors. So it's relationships in the healthcare field that are being more monitored, and we're being careful in the way we address patients and the way that we offer care to patients. So that's one of the clinics are trying to implement that framework. And that is one of the initiatives that if we had the opportunity, we would love to help fund that initiative and be a part of that change in our community. I believe that is more of a direct and like big change to see, because it is directly changing the relationships we see in the healthcare field, which is not something we see very often, especially with policies and public health reforms. So if we can change that relationship, we can change how patients react to the healthcare field, and also improve their experiences in hospitals and clinics, especially with these marginalized communities, which we know do experience lots of implicit biases and prejudice against them. So it's something that I really would love to see be implemented in hospitals, clinics, and health centers throughout Canada. Sorry, also your second question regarding the intersectionality between wellness, the clinics, and the our initiatives. So yeah, so that would be surrounding we're targeting the same demographic of individuals. So marginalized communities, that marginalized racial minorities, people in lower socioeconomic classes, people that are gender minorities. So individuals that may face biases in the healthcare field that are not spoken about very often because they're everyday experiences. So it's something that they're not discussed often. So that is why we want to tie in with Wellness, because Wellness talks or discusses these biases in the student population at the University of Toronto, because we are students and it is a university group, but we can also tie this into our communities because we see these type of interactions throughout the community and throughout society. So that would be the connect, and the clinics help with that as well because they focus on health equity.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, and lastly, we'll hear from Mona.
Okay, hi.
Hi.
Hi, it was a pleasure to read your submission and watch your video. and your pitch. And so I have a question for each part of your pitch. So your first part related to fundraising with the clinics, I think plays off Alicia's question, which is, do you already have connections with the local clinics in the GTA? Like, do you already have connections to Taibu, Access Alliance? Another one is Women's Health, Women's Hands. So that's the first question for part one. And then part two, I'm a researcher. So, your second part, being a systematic review, is a very specific research methodology. And so can you tell me what you know about what is needed to actually do a systematic review in a diligent research manner?
Okay, so I can answer the first, and Felicia can then speak on the second. So I know for we don't have specific connections to these clinics. However, I did earlier, a couple years ago, I did have sort of an internship and a volunteer experience with Taibu. And that's why that's actually where my passion for health equity started, because I was doing a research in the University of Toronto, and I got the opportunity to meet with the managers and the other doctors at Taibu. And I felt immediately connected to their purpose and their inspiration. So that would be my only connection to the clinic. But we're looking forward to be connected to them through this initiative, and to reach out to them and see what we can do to offer them support, as they have many pages for support. So that would be something to be looking forward to.
Yeah, and then in terms of like your second question, in terms of like the systematic review, so Eunice and I, we actually were conducting research with another lab, sort of on like it's on neglected tropical diseases. So we understand how like systematic reviews, it is an extensive process. Like you need a lot of hands, and so I guess in terms of like getting that support, we would probably would need volunteers as well to like help with screening of articles, data extraction and collection. But we understand that it is a long-term like initiative. So yeah, like in terms of like the work and stuff, like we hope to like recruit other people and like in terms of volunteers and be able to distribute that among us. And also because there's three of us, Abraham, Eunice, and myself, we would be able to oversee all of those kind of tasks related to the systematic review.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Do we have any other further questions from the jury? No. Any questions from the audience? I don't see any here, but I do see lots of comments. People saying it's good to be here. Hi, hello. They're excited to be here. And also some in Spanish, I believe, which I'm afraid I will not be able to read to you all. So thank you everyone for dropping your comments in. Great to see you all in the chat. And we have Marvelous saying great judges as well. Okay, so yeah, okay. So we are up to about 10 minutes now, so we'll wrap up this question session and move on to pitch number 2. Well done again, Eunice, Abraham, and Delisha, for your fantastic pitch and for your very interesting discussion with the judges as well. Well done.
Thank you.
Okay, so we will now move on to pitch number 2. Where we will be hearing from Ollie, who will be pitching their project, Translating HIV Research, a Night of Understandable Science. So it's over to you, Ollie.
Hello, hi. My name is Ollie Demijian. I'm a student at University of Toronto, currently focusing on queer healthcare and HIV. My project is under the working title of Translating HIV, a Night of Understandable Science. The COVID-19 pandemic that's currently ongoing was really what inspired this project. Early in the pandemic, I went down to the United States to work on ambulances, and we just saw so much misinformation, confusion, and questioning of the facts surrounding the virus. And this questioning of science has only seemed to worsen. And with homophobia, transphobia, racism always present, this will impact those living with HIV. I think science is having a real marketing issue right now, with information and access being hidden behind university tuition, journal paywalls, and inaccessible language. And that's where this night comes in. I'm proposing bringing together researchers, doctors, public health officials, and educators for a night where HIV and its research and treatment are broken down, where the challenging language is explained, and where we take the time to make this behemoth of a research effort understandable and accessible. I've been privileged enough to access a university education, and with that have had some amazing interactions with professors who have known how to explain things to make them accessible and understandable. And I'd be asking them and others to join this project and to speak at the event. The event would be tailored to non-university educated general population, giving them access to the dialogue surrounding HIV. High school students and young people would also be encouraged to attend to increase engagement with scientific discussions and HIV prevention. Try to make it more entertaining than grade 9 chemistry, I promise. As of right now, I'm hoping that the night will involve an opening speaker who will present the history of HIV, its treatment, and successes that have been made so far in the past 30 years. Then a panel of researchers and doctors will explain their current scope and the advances they see on the horizon. Public health officials and educators would then explain the intersections between research and daily life and how that impacts health. I hope that the event will be filmed and posted online to serve as a continuing resource in the future. Most importantly, I hope to have a period afterwards where the audience is able to directly interact with researchers and ask the questions that they have, to avoid the formal post-lecture Q&A period that can be so intimidating and prevent people from really asking the questions they actually have. It'll foster communication and a dialogue. The main point of the night is to bring science education to those who would not otherwise have access to it. Science is fun and it's interesting, and people really do like to learn about it when it's brought to them in an understandable and engaging way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ollie, for your fantastic pitch as well. We'll bring the judges back on screen for question time. Thank you. Okay, so maybe this time we'll start with you, Mona.
Sure, thanks. Thanks, Ollie, for your presentation. Great idea. My questions are, sometimes I get stuck in the details of like project management, being a researcher. So my questions sort of relate to that in terms of like, where would you think to host the event? Is it going to be in person or mixed in person, virtual? How many people are you thinking? Why only one event? If you win, you might be able to host more than one event. And then it's very important to also include community members, like people living with HIV, in the panel and so forth. So I was more sort of interested in really like the details of the project management.
Thank you. Yeah, I have no past experience with project management, so that's where I'm a little like fuzzy on the details. So thank you for that. I would potentially partner with University of Toronto just because I'm a student there and have access to the professors and stuff like that. So that's potentially a setting for it. I would have to look into what that entails when partnering. It didn't occur to me to have multiple presentations just because one night was like a big idea on its own, and a lot to undertake. That's totally possible, yeah. That was kind of where the filming of it was gonna play a role so that it could be accessed in the future. And I did intend for it to be mixed with Zoom and in person as well, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Ollie. Okay, let's hear from you, Alicia.
Yes, thank you for your pitch. This is indeed a very interesting idea. I would like to raise a question that is kind of a follow-up of Mona's question, because I'm interested to know more about how you envision, to engage the community leaders in the in this simply this symposium, because many of the scientific advances have actually been have been pushed, and we have the scientific advances thanks to activism and community leaders. So yeah, I was just wondering, what kind of engagement you envision for the community leaders. And also, I'm interested to know about the scale of the project. You said that it's kind of one event, and it will be recorded, or it will has the possibility of becoming a resource that's available for others to join. I was just wondering if you have considered this as a pilot for potentially future symposiums. Thank you.
Yeah. Going off the second part first, I do think that this was like more of a pilot. That's a perfect way of explaining it. Thank you. And then the second part, I think, like for the panel, the spot of moderation and like an overseeing presence should definitely be given to community members, just to make sure that there is representation there. And I also don't think that the scientific presence necessarily is separate from community members. Like, I know there are many queer researchers and those living with HIV who are doing the research. And so priority would be definitely given to those to be included in the panel.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ollie. And lastly, Matthew.
Thanks for that. What I really appreciate about your pitch is that you had these two kind of tracks where you talked about accessibility, and I appreciate that that's going to involve accessibility in a very kind of wide variety of ways. And you talked about science being fun, and there was a sort of an entertainment to it. You wanted to draw people into the science, it sounded like. But one of the things that you said that I found interesting was that you talked about the future goals of combining those two elements in one event. And so it strikes me that you might have an ask of people, like, why do you want them to attend, and what do you want them to take on after attending? Like, what's the behavioral change that you're sort of asking them to do? And I feel like you might have an idea of what that is. I'd love for you to expand on that.
Thank you. I'm not sure I really was looking for a behavioral change. I was more focusing on them learning something and having like a good time and an entertaining time. And if they wanted to spread that information, that would be great. But I was mostly focusing on making the night for them in attendance and then online as well. But that could definitely be an avenue that I explore further. Yeah, thank you.
Excellent. And then one, just it's more of a comment, actually. I take Mona's question about logistics very seriously. These things can get cumbersome really quickly. But you do have an analog at U of T called the Sex Salon, which I've been involved with in the past, where they've taken complex sociological things associated with sexual health and politics and that kind of stuff, and made it accessible in the same kind of ways you're looking to do. So my suggestion was just to think about that model that already exists at U of T and has the framework of the speaker and the event space and all those kinds of stuff, because that might help you conceptualize how to run this kind of event.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll look into that. Yeah.
Okay, great. Do we have any other questions from the jury? No? Okay. I do see a question from the audience. So Josephine says, fantastic, Ollie. I'm interested to know about the scalability of this project and if there's any plan on intersectionalities to target key populations, such as sex workers, TG, and PWUD.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the acronyms stand for. Thank you for your question. I haven't really focused on the scalability of the project just because, as I said, I have limited experience hosting events, and so one event was kind of like the most I could think of. And for the plan of intersectionality, that would really be who's in attendance and who we reach out to get them to participate in the discussion panel and the in the audience. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Maybe Josephine can clarify the acronyms in the chat. And Marvelous says, if given the funding, what are the 3 things you will prioritize to do based on the questions asked by the jury and afterthoughts?
Thank you. Yeah, so the main priority would be reaching out to people to be on the panel and getting just a wide variety of individuals to speak from their experience and their expertise. And then the other priority would be outreach to people to attend. And so publicizing the event and reaching people about information. And then the third would be the logistics of the event. So scheduling and getting microphones that work and getting a timeline and the little things that make it very complicated and stressful, and just wrapping it up to be a fun night.
Fantastic. Thank you. And thank you, Mona, for adding the acronyms to the chat as well. TG, transgender, PWUD, people who use drugs. Okay, we are coming up to 10 minutes. So if there's no more questions, we will wrap up pitch number 2. Fantastic job, Ollie. Thank you again for your fantastic pitch and your discussion with the judges. Well done. I'm hearing lots of clapping coming from the people who are watching in person at the office today. So there's good energy here. I know you can't hear it online, but they are cheering you all on. Okay, so we have one final pitch to go. So last but not least, I would like to invite Arihant and Shivam to the virtual stage to pitch their project idea, Sexwell. So whenever you are ready, Arihant and Shivam.
Hi, can you hear us? Can you hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Perfect. Go back.
Are the slides showing?
Are the slides showing? Brienne?
Oh, yes, sir.
Perfect. Awesome.
Perfect.
Ready? 3. Hello all. We are high school students, and we are excited to introduce you Sexwell, a revolutionary app that empowers individuals with personalized solutions for HIV prevention and education. Sexwell is an innovative tool that provides access to information and resources related to HIV prevention, PrEP, and connects users with sexual therapists in the area. However, what sets Sexwell apart from other sexual wellness apps is our unique My Sexual Health profile, which allows users to track, schedule, and access all aspects of their sexual health by tracking condom usage, scheduling HIV testing appointments, setting reminders for birth control. Sexwell helps to promote sexually healthy sexual health practices and prevents the spread of STIs such as HIV. With the need for comprehensive sexual health education and resources being more important than ever, Sexwell is a step in the right direction towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, particularly SDG 3.
Now, moving behind the main inspiration of Sexwell, well, we were both volunteers for about three years, working with HIV and in the field of HIV. And we saw that there are a lack of resources and applications, especially for the youth, as HIV is high among young people, particularly members of the LGBTQ plus community and people of color. And we saw this as a huge problem because there's none applications out there that enable the youth to be able to track. And we wanted to provide young people with a comprehensive approach to sexual health tracking as well. We wanted to inspire the youth. We wanted to show them that they can be confident about the decisions they make in the future, and that they can take that next further step and be confident as well.
In our first year of launch, our primary goal for SexWell is to establish a strong user base with at least 500 active users, hoping to form partnerships with at least 5 sexual health organizations and clinics to expand our resources and services. Additionally, updating and improving the app based on user feedback and emerging sexual health research and practices. Ultimately, to create a comprehensive and personalized sexual health platform that promotes sexual health practices, healthy sexual health practices, and prevents STIs.
Now, moving on to the prototype. We have a video here. So looking at here, you have a login/sign up page with an email confirmation or validation. Here you can sign in with Google. You can access accessibility if you forget your password. And there's also a redirection to a sign up page, and we want to enable it so that every time an individual logs in, it'll be anytime they access the app, because we want to promote privacy and if anyone else is accessing the phone as well. Here we have a sexual health calendar where the individual can add things to the calendar. We have a sexual health profile where they'll be able to edit. You can find a therapist page. There's no therapist as of right now, but this is a beta and a prototype stage, so we hope to partner with the therapist as well. You have resources, which are mostly LetsStopAIDS resources, but we can also find more resources and list more information there. And you also have a chat bot with a chat with us page, which basically redirects and lets everyone know. And finally, you have settings that really help anonymous notifications and things like that. And this app we're looking in the future to really boost our user interface and make it really accessible for all. Moving on to the planning stages.
To achieve our goals, we will be leveraging the mentorship provided by LetsStopAIDS, Canada's largest youth HIV charity, planning to work closely with the team to develop a target outreach strategies and engage with potential users. Additionally, we will be using part of our grant money to invest in targeted advertising and sponsorships to promote the app, as well as working with influencers within the community. Additionally, seeking out partnerships with sexual health organizations like Shivam mentioned in terms of developing our sexual therapists page, as well as resources in PrEP and PrEP. Through these efforts, we're confident that we can establish a strong user base and create a community of individuals that are actively engaged in promoting sexual wellness and health. Grant allocation. So Shivam, would you like to talk about the grant allocation for the app part of it?
Yeah, so let's first start off with the second thing. So we have app maintenance, and this usually takes around 30% of the grant allocation. So what is included with app maintenance? This is basically publication of the app, user experience investments, and cross-platform accessibility. Since we're using a software that charges by a monthly fee, we want to be able to uphold this cost and actually have users. And we also need to ensure backend infrastructure. This means adding on APIs and importing keys that we can code in, as well as server protection, as people are trusting us with their confidential information. And it's really important that we invest in server protection for this information.
Now we move on to marketing. Marketing is going to be the brunt of our costs, covering 55%. We hope to have a combination of social media advertisings and targeted influencer marketing. Our extensive experience in SMMA, social media marketing, will allow us to run successful campaigns with high conversion rates. We also hope to have 5% for any last-minute miscellaneous costs. We thank you so much for listening to our presentation today and hope you enjoy and are excited for SexWell. Thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to answering your questions.
Okay, thank you for your fantastic pitch, Shivam and Arihant. Okay, I'm hearing lots of clapping from the office again, and I'm sure everyone who's watching virtually is also cheering you on from their homes as well. Okay, so we have the judges back on stage for the questions. Let's start with Alicia this time.
Yes, thank you. My question is about whether you have considered or not to include a risk assessment function in the app, because that's something that could perhaps be, helpful and perhaps, if you can tell us a little bit more on how the app will be linked to the LLL platform from Let's Stop AIDS. And my final question is about how was the process of developing this proposal? Did you conduct a market research, or if you perhaps consulted with your peers, how you identify this app as a need or as a niche to propose? Do you think this the gap will fill in a gap, an existing gap?
Thank you so much for your question. And so, yeah, in terms of your first part, the risk assessment survey, no, we haven't considered adding a risk assessment survey at the moment, but working with Let's Stop AIDS and working with amazing mentors and judges such as yourself, we're open to new ideas. And I think that's part of the reason we're here today, is because of great ideas like the risk assessment survey and other factors that maybe we may not have had the ability or insight to consider. Being able to work with amazing people such as yourself will allow us to open our minds up and see meet other needs that we haven't initially considered, such as the risk assessment survey. So definitely something to consider in the future. And for the second part, Shivam could probably do a better job answering it.
Yeah, so for the second question, you asked how it basically redirects us to those important websites and resources. So in one of our apps and pages of our apps, we have a component that is basically for people to go to those apps. So we have a redirection from the mobile. So it's basically a button. And when the individual clicks on that, they get sent to the websites themselves. And we'll make sure through partnering with different organizations and things like this, we can provide trusted resources. And also through the help of our mentors, we can know what these resources are. We can add more information, as individuals can also see through our app. If they scroll down a little bit from the buttons to the redirection pages, they can also see where like important information. As in our app, you saw we just had a basic definition of what HIV and AIDS was, right? So individuals can look through our app, and we also have redirections through a button where they will be able to access other sort of pages as well.
And in terms of your third part of your question, looking at the market research and analyzing demographics, we haven't done a fully controlled, fully established market research survey or research publication in that sense. However, we have asked around and inquired with our peers and asking, hey, do you feel there are any mobile applications or web pages that you as a youth are able to track your sexual wellness? Do you feel that that's lacking? And if there was something to be created, would you be interested in using it? And talking to my friends, and Shivam talking to his friends, and talking to our greater youth peer circle in high school and the early stages of university and college, we realized that there is a need for these products, because they would say it would be so much easier to talk to track my sexual health and to track when I'm having sex or when I'm not having sex or when I need to buy condoms. And there's really no place to do it. And especially with school gets so busy, I can't really keep it in the back of my mind. So if there was an app or there was a place to do it, it would be much more easier and much more natural.
And also adding on, we looked at like a bunch of like reports online. We haven't conducted the research ourselves, but we looked at a bunch of reports. One of the reports being Let's Stop AIDS report on basically how COVID affected this. And we saw that there was a need for an application like this because some of these acts were mostly intensified during COVID, right? So we wanted to have an app. We wanted to build this app for individuals to manage their sexual health and to really help themselves make more confident decisions in the future.
Okay, great. Next, we'll go to Mona.
Okay, great presentation, and your video is excellent. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
It normally, like a lot of times, if a group wants to get an app done, it costs tens of thousands of dollars. So I just wanted to understand like how you're going to be able to do it for $1,000, and a little bit more on, I think Alicia and I like asked the same questions, but in your, and I liked seeing how you think you're going to spend the expenses. But one thing to consider in your work plan, because it sounds like you need kind of a work plan, or have you already done this, is piloting the app with potential users. and getting feedback from actual users. And you said, from the mentors, you're going to get feedback, but really expanding that feedback phase.
Yeah, so starting off with your first question, you basically, what we have through our system is I'm actually learning how to code myself, and I'm learning how to build these applications by myself. So I suggest we're using right now an application that helps us build the app. So we have built it ourselves. So I see in a couple of months, as I'm learning how to code and I'm learning how to basically software development, back end, front end, things like design. I hope to be working with teams such as the LetsStopAIDS graphics design team, and working with them as well as designing really in coding as well. And I feel like there's no necessity to go out, as we can, through help of our mentors, I'll be able to help, me and Arnth will be able to code the app together. We'll be able to work on it together. And since we're also putting in lots of time every week, we're looking to spend at least 7 to 10 hours every week just working on this project as well. We'll get time with research, we'll get time with coding the actual application. And I suggest that we'll be able to create this app in 2 months and have this, whatever we have right now, we can run that and make a few changes right now, as this is just a prototype. But as you're saying, how we can really get it out there, I'm learning coding myself right now, so I don't see there's any need that we have to go out and really buy the application when we can build it ourselves, have that learning experience, as well as teach others. And really, because we're passionate about it, it'll be more better for us to understand and build that app as well.
Just adding on to Shivam's point, but first, thank you so much for your kind words. They mean a lot. In terms of Shivam's point of the UX and graphics, it's working with LetsStopAIDS is actually even more valuable because we have large teams of volunteers, 400 plus people. So working on these apps in terms of UX and graphics design, we have teams of volunteers for free that are ready to help in sort of like limited roles or in any role that they can. And just that additional help of a group of people, a community of people that are super strong is super helpful. And in terms of your second question regarding user feedback, yeah, we mentioned briefly in our presentation, user feedback is a critical point of any app, website, or any development. And me and Shivam both have experience with it. We both own our own SMMA and web development businesses where we charge real estate agents and we work with them in terms of building their websites. So we have a kind of a surface level understanding of implementing user feedback. And okay, so the client or in this case for this app, the user base says that this button isn't functional or that they don't really like this feature. So working in that sense through sort of that chatbot Shivam mentioned, where users can sort of give personalized feedback to us, we'd be able to implement that in beta runs. And Shivam, as he mentioned a few times, is learning amazing languages like React Native and Java, and he will be able to custom code that in with his time. Thank you so much, though.
Okay, thank you. And lastly, over to Matthew.
Excellent. Well, first of all, thanks for volunteering with LetsStopAIDS. I think they're a great organization and they're volunteer-led, and I think that's a great thing to do. I have 2 questions for you. The first is that is gesturing towards Alicia's question. She was talking a little bit about safety and protecting people who use these kinds of things, because there's certain vulnerability in using these kinds of applications or asking the kind of information that you are planning on asking people. And so I'm curious about privacy and safety. And I don't just mean safety of data, I also mean of mental health and of well-being. So that's kind of question number 1. And then question number 2, what was interesting about your presentation is that you talked about not only sort of meeting a need, you talked about talking to your friends, you talked about some market research, but you mentioned empowerment. And I'm wondering what that means to you in this context of an application. How does it empower people, I'm guessing, in relation to their sexual health?
I got this.
Yeah, so answering your first question, basically what we have for like security and things like this, we're working with mentors, and we also have like experience working with and as we said, we're volunteers. We want to also make sure that the users feel comfortable on our app and feel like they're protected as well, right? And they feel like they can provide us the information that they want to. So we want to work with our mentors, and we want to really just go like checks on whatever we're doing in the app. We want to make sure that whatever we're doing would be fine for our targeted audience. And we'd like to do this with people with lots of experience in HIV and AIDS, and to really help our customers and our users to feel really really confident in in their application that they're using for their sexual wellness, and to really make them feel comforted and confident. In
Adding on to what Shivam said, from a technical standpoint, we have a lot of friends of ours that are willing to help and volunteer that work in engineering firms. They're software engineers, computer engineers, data engineers. So we hope to use really strongly encrypted APIs as well as web servers and talk about that extensively. Like, we're using these really encrypted APIs, these really encrypted web servers that are extremely secure, and kind of advertise that as a feature to increase the comfortability of it. And in terms of your second question, in regards to what empowerment means, for us, Let's Stop AIDS is a youth organization. And in terms of this application, but just giving a little bit of context to what that means to us is the opportunities and the ability of people we've been able to meet, work we've been able to do, has allowed us to just take charge of the leadership role. You always hear like the saying, oh, you're too young to do that, or you're too young to do this, like your work doesn't really have an impact. But with Let's Stop AIDS and with working with these people, we're able to see the impact of our work on a global scale. We're able, going to events like AIDS 2022 this past summer, we're able to see the work that we do at No Time to Wait, the work that we do with PrEP and PEP, how it impacts people on a global scale. And that gives you a sense of empowerment. That gives you a sense of you can take charge of these issues. So in the context of this application, taking charge of your sexual wellness, taking charge of these issues and getting ahead of the roadblock, getting ahead of the roadblock in terms of preventing STIs can give you a sense of empowerment, because you're showing that you can take charge of this problem and prevent it at the root source by using an application like this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. We are actually running a little bit over time for our 10 minutes of questions. I did see there is also a question in the chat. So maybe during the break, Shivam and Arihant can respond to that question in the chat, because in the interest of time, we will keep moving on. So I just want to say a massive congratulations to everyone for your pitches. It really is so inspiring to hear all of your brilliant ideas. And I would honestly love to see all of these projects be realized. We do know that only one project will be walking away with the funding and the mentorship today. So I would like to now invite our 3 judges to leave the studio, join their deliberation meeting. In the meantime, we will have a 10-minute break, and we will be back here in 10 minutes at 10 past 12 Toronto time to hear the results. So we're going to take a short break. Please feel free to grab a drink or some fresh air, or check out some videos that we will be showing all about what Let's Stop AIDS have been up to for the last year. So see you very soon. Okay, welcome back, everybody. We're going to hear from the judges very shortly. Just before we hear from the judges, I want to thank all of the participants once again. We really recognize all of your efforts with these amazing initiatives and your brilliant ideas and your dedication to contribute to this cause. So we would really love to see all of these ideas come to fruition. Even if you don't win this time, we will always be happy to receive your ideas as young leaders who are, making great efforts to make positive change in our community. So there are always opportunities at Let's Stop AIDS to be involved and bring your ideas to the table. So we really look forward to being in touch with all of you in the future. So I am going to hand it over to the jury to say a few words. So first we'll hear from Matthew.
Thanks. And actually, my cat is saying a few words in the background quite loudly about dinner. So I apologize for that. First of all, thank you both for involving me and just for your energy for those pitches. They were extremely well thought out, and they were energizing, and they thought about communities in a different way, which leads me to sort of, I guess, a small piece of advice, which is, if Wellness, for example, your project hinges on creating a new link with a clinic, and Ollie, your project hinges on bringing new people into HIV science, and the Sexwell folks, your project hinges on serving a fairly anonymous but a wide range of students who are interested in engaging or tracking their sexual health for the first time. And I guess my my feedback to everyone, or my hope, is that you focus on that, building that coalition, and you focus on that outreach component when you execute these projects, because I think that's where, you know, there's the logistics and there's the planning and there's the budgeting, but the real success factor is how do you invite people into your project and how do you get them involved in HIV. And that seems to be my hope, is that you really double down on that component. So that's it from me, except for a very big thank you to LetsStopAIDS for including me.
Great, and thank you so much for joining us and accepting to take part in the jury. We really appreciate it too, Matthew. Thank you so much. Okay, so next we'll hear from Alicia.
Yeah, thank you so much. I was very impressed by the quality of the three proposals. It shows like a lot of work behind this proposal, a lot of effort to put the proposals together, to pitch them, and hopefully all the three of the proposal will come to fruition in the future. I was also impressed by the enthusiasm that you bring and the really great and creative ideas that you pitched. I just have to say that you are all champions already of the HIV response. And it's just, I admire your willingness to really contribute to ending AIDS and to a greater good. So keep that spirit, because yeah, it is very, very valuable. I was finally, I just have to say that I was personally inspired by your pitches. So best of luck, and thank you.
Thank you, Alicia. And lastly, we'll hear from Mona, who I believe also has an exciting announcement to make. And Mona will also be announcing the winners. Before Mona announces the winners, we will bring the contestants back on the virtual stage as well. Okay, over to you, Mona.
Okay, I thought Alicia was announcing the winners, but you want me to?
Can you?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay, great. Sure. Thank you, Mona.
Well, congratulations to all of you. Like, what great projects, very inspiring. Your energy, your passion, your volunteering at LetsStopAIDS is really appreciated. And all great ideas. If I like the way Matthew gave some advice. So I think just a little bit of advice would be, if you move forward with these projects, really think carefully about your work plan. And you know, you start with a work plan, and then as Matthew mentioned, connecting with the community is really important, including youth and people living with HIV. And so my big announcement, I was so moved, like Alicia, about these projects and about this whole program. My family is going to personally donate $1,500 so that all of you will be winners. The first prize will get the $1,500, second prize will get $1,000, and third prize will get $500. So you can all do your projects. So drum roll. First place goes to Eunice, Delisha, and Abraham.
Thank you. We're so excited. Thank you so much.
Great work. And we really look forward to hearing about your connections with the local community clinics and connecting Wellness with those community clinics. So, so congratulations. Second place goes to Shivam and Arahant. Congratulations. And your project is very ambitious. So we hope your work plan is pretty good and solid, and that you do a lot of outreach, pre-marketing, and piloting. Okay, and third place is Ollie. We're really excited, Ollie. We think your idea of having an event to combat science misinformation and to make it fun, and to do a university symposium will be a great potential pilot and could lead to even more. So thank you for your idea, and thank you all for your pitches, and congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations to everybody. Big congratulations to Eunice and Abraham and Delisha for coming first place. And from everyone at Let's Stop AIDS, we are really excited to work with you on this project. Same goes to second and third place. Well done. Big congratulations. I will be in touch with all of you next week regarding your prizes. And before we wrap up, I would just like to say a big thank you to everybody at Let's Stop AIDS on the team who have helped make this project happen, as well as all of the collaborating organizations who have either helped us promote the contest, participate in the jury, offer mentorship to the winning project, and a big thank you to Mona for her very generous contribution to the program as well. And so just a shout out to the other organizations who have contributed, Vive Healthcare, UNAIDS, Ontario AIDS Network, and MAP PR. So thank you so much to all of you. Also a big thank you to all of the audience who came out today, and a big thank you to all of the contestants, including those who might not have made it to the finals today, but who also had amazing and inspirational and creative ideas as well. So without all of you, there really would be no winning seed. So thank you to everyone who applied to the competition. So with that said, congratulations once again. We will be in touch very soon. Thank you everyone for joining. I wish you a great rest of your day and a fantastic weekend.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for your amazing contribution.
For sure.
Yes, thank you guys so much. We're very excited for what the next steps hold.
Thank you. Well done again. And thank you to everyone on the jury. Bye.